Another exciting edition of American Warrior Radio, the place to be for news, notes, interviews, and current events for all issues military and veteran related. If you or someone you know has ever worn the uniform of the U.S. Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, National Guard, or Reserves, you've come to the right place. American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, and online worldwide at 1300WMEL.com, sponsored by AVET Project. Folks, you know this program is all about supporting our troops and their families, both past and present. So please, get comfortable, grab a cup of iced tea or some other beverage, because it's hot out there on this beautiful Saturday here on the Space Coast. And you know what? We want you to grab a pen and paper also. Yeah, this is instructions from me to you, because we're always efforting to bring you important information that you can use and share with others. With that said, let's roll down the runway and get this show off the ground. You all know me, I'm Garen Cohn. I'm an Air Force veteran, a retired legal advocate for veterans, and founder of AVET Project. But you also know I never fly through the airwaves alone.
Good morning, I'm Glenn McGuffey. I'm retired Air Force, and I'm retired as the previous county manager of the Veteran Services team for 22 plus years, where it was my honor to help our veterans and their families achieve and get the veterans benefits that were earned by the veteran service to our great nation. And as usual, we have a fantastic show for you today.
Always, always.
And I don't know where you came up with that word efforting, but it's okay.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. It may not be in the dictionary, but it's in Garen's dictionary.
Yeah, okay.
And
I think the folks understand it, and that's the key thing.
well, the segue there is we are efforting to bring you some really great information. Glenn, it is the political season, and we've got political races going on right now. The election is coming up on August 26th, just 10 days from now, and we are honored and privileged to have in studio with us today one of the gentlemen that's running for public office. He is a United States Coast Guard Admiral. You like that, sir? Wayne Justice, retired out of the Coast Guard after 37 years. Wayne, thank you for joining us on American Warrior Radio.
Thank you very much, Glenn, Garen. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. And first and foremost, let me thank American Warrior Radio and AVET Project for sponsoring this and having the chance to be on this great program. Thank you.
Well, we ordinarily don't get involved in politics. AVET Project itself, as an entity, is apolitical and we're non-religious, but Glenn and I discussed this along with our producer, and it's important to get the information out to the voters about men and women that have served this country honorably and want to continue to do so in the public arena in politics. So tell everybody out there in Radio Land right now what race you're involved in and how big a margin you're going to win by.
I'm running for the Port Authority Commission, District 3 seat. It's a Republican race, running against a sitting commissioner, and the election's on August 26th, and been out there knocking on doors and meeting people and getting the message out. And I have a message. I think I bring a different candidate to the table, the opportunity to bring some maritime expertise to the port up there, and I'm ready to do it.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because as I mentioned, it is admirable that you spent 37 years in service to this country in the United States Coast Guard, retired as an admiral. Tell us a little bit about your military career. What prompted you to go into the service? First of all, let's back up a minute, Wayne. Where were you born and raised? Give us some background.
Okay, I was raised in New York City, Staten Island specifically, making me a New York Football Giant fan.
I'm sorry to hear that. Go Steelers.
They played last week.
I know, we lost. Okay, we gave you that one. Go on.
Okay, grew up in New York City, son of a public health service doctor. So my father was and actually he was a Korean War vet in the Navy during the Korean War, and then he used his GI Bill to go to medical school, and served 26 years in the public health service as a urologist, and so that was in my blood. He steered me toward the Coast Guard. I had the opportunity to go to the Coast Guard Academy.
Which is by appointment, like the other services?
Actually, it's a little different. Coast Guard Academy is unique amongst military services, is that you compete. And they take the top 290 or so out of 7,000 applicants And it's not by state, it's not by congressional appointment, it's by your service, your grades, your SAT scores, and it's a little different,
Kind of like a selection board to get into the Coast Guard Academy.
Yes, and it's truly on merit, maybe more so than the other schools. Not that they're not either, but.
Well, that's interesting. So you got into the academy, which says a lot based on what you just told us about how you get into the academy, where you were as a young man, and then once you got into the Coast Guard, tell me about that. From the time you got into the academy, because we know, and Glenn, you and I have had the cadets from West Point on here before, and we've had other conversations with other folks that have gone through the service academies. It's not an easy go. It's just like an Ivy League education, but it's accelerated, and you're learning while doing your regular Coast Guard job as well.
It was a challenging time. The academic side, of course, is rigorous. The military piece, of course, and then you spend your summers not at home, but you're out on ships. And I also had the opportunity to play football there. And I know it's Division III, but it was still college football. And actually, that was probably the most fun of the whole 44 years there. It was an escape from the military side of the whole thing and the academic rigors. But
tell us about that. What position did you play? We got a lot of football fans out there in American Warrior Radio land.
No. And I'm going to laugh because when my son, who's actually a Division I college football player, who's a real football player, when he hears me talk about my college football experience, he will be laughing. No, I played defensive back, and it was fun.
So you're quick on your feet, and you can read a pass pretty good. At least you thought you did at the time.
At one point, I would make, in all seriousness about the Coast Guard Academy at that time, my senior year at the Coast Guard Academy was the first year female cadets were at the academy. So that would have been in 1973. And so then those ladies then graduated. I'm sorry, that would have been 1977. 1977, and those female cadets now graduated in 1981. Well, since then, since ground zero, now if you go to the Coast Guard Academy, 1/3 of the cadets there, 300 out of 900 cadets are ladies, and that's just to show how the integration has gone. And it's been a long but successful process. The superintendent of the Coast Guard Academy right now is a 2-star female admiral and in charge of the Coast Guard Academy.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's and I note that all the services are getting a larger and larger percentage of their force structure are females. There are some issues particularly germane to the Army and Marines, I think, more so than the other services, as to restricting them from, females being them, from certain jobs. And then I've also read some generals have said, well, if they can pass the same rigorous physical standards that the males are that are doing this same job, then have at it. And I think that's the way it should be.
Again,
what was your experience while you were serving?
I'd like to make 2 points. Quick on the superintendent side, I'd also like to say that I had the honor to serve with the superintendent, the now superintendent of the Air Force Academy, Lieutenant General Michelle Johnson, and she and I worked together in the White House.
Wow.
Back in the early 90s. We were both carried the emergency satchel for the president. We had that job.
Wow.
We had that job together. Different discussion.
See what you learn about things on American Warrior Radio?
In the meantime, I saw women start at in the beginning at the bottom, on ships, on all of our different assignments, and it was, as being a ship guy, I got to watch over my 37 years how hard it was, but we were able to integrate ladies, both officers enlisted, to all parts of our ships, all the duties on board, from the captain right on down to the mess cooks, and they're part of the Coast Guard right now, totally integrated and a very important part.
Oh, for sure, and I can appreciate that because, Glenn, we've talked about that before, how much service and sacrifice our female warfighters out there are making, and a lot of them go, unrecognized or under-recognized.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear about that successful integration of the females in there, because obviously they're capable of doing the job, and obviously they're doing it very well, and hats off. And for you females out there looking for a job, you might want to consider the Coast Guard or one of the other branches of the military as a career for you.
And Wayne, I wanted to just mention 37 years, that's a long career. That's a long career regardless of what your field is. But as a Coast Guardsman, and you saw the successful integration and promotion of females within the Coast Guard, and we hope that it's happening that well in the other branches of service as well. But give us one quick, unique deployment or assignment that you remember with, just give us some ideas, some interesting times you had out there.
I'll start with being a ship guy, okay, a Coast Guard cutter. And I had the opportunity to, from early on until senior parts of my career, to be on different ships. And ended up being on 6 different ships. I commanded 4 of them. We did drug law enforcement. I mean, I seized over 40 drug-laden vessels, put hundreds of guys in jail. I picked up migrants, thousands of migrants, Cubans, Haitians, Chinese on the West Coast. I've done that pretty hard mission. Search and rescue, pollution response, port security, and just the myriad of jobs that the Coast Guard is asked to do for our nation, and really having the honor, particularly being a ship's captain, having that accountability, responsibility for that crew to get their jobs done. And I got to tell you, it doesn't happen at 2 o'clock on a sunny, calm afternoon. You know, it happens at 2 in the morning when it's darn rough out there, and these sailors, these Coast Guards men and women, are out there putting their lives on the line.
And folks, we're talking with Wayne Justice, retired admiral. I said it again, but it is admirable. Come on, 37 years, folks. He's running for your port commission seat, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But I just want to, again, thank you for your service to this country. And also, you mentioned all of the different activities that the Coast Guard has the responsibility for covering on our nation's borders and waterways and so on and so forth. Glenn, we hear this a lot through the bosun's call with Commander B. Perry on a regular basis.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm really interested, since you have this fantastic background dealing with naval type issues from a Coast Guard perspective, obviously, how that fits in, what the job you're running for, what does that require? What's that job all about, and why would that make you the best qualified?
The Port Commission, elected a position, represents, takes people's, whoever votes for you, you're going to take their ideal direction, and you oversee the policies, you set policy for the Port Authority. The CEO, Mr. John Walsh, doing a great job up there, and all the people that he works for and runs the operation, he is beholden then to the 5 port commissioners who, most importantly, set the budget, and the budget becomes a policy document, and where money is spent and how it's spent, thus shows how the port operations are going to be executed. So it's an oversight position, certainly coming from the Coast Guard, and particularly some of the jobs I had as a senior officer. I was in our policy and budget development shop, and I put together a $6 billion annual budget for the Coast Guard. I've been at that level of...
Can you compare that to what our Port Commission budget is?
Well, the Port Commission right now is a $75 million annual operating budget. There's also hundreds of millions of dollars of loans for capital projects. So that's a significant, large, complicated, and important business for our county. And so it's
but as you just mentioned, as a senior level officer, you were in charge of a budget of $6 billion, many hundreds times more than what the Port Commissioner is. So you're duly qualified to manage money on that level.
That's correct.
And what are some other responsibilities that our Port Commissioner will do? What will you be taking on?
As well, they have the responsibility of being, I'm going to make this point at 2 levels. The speed of the growth, there's a lot of growth potential up there. They've got money, they're making money, they're doing it the right way. Cruise, cargo, the land development, and the retail side. However, you can have the accelerator to the floor, which it probably is right now. They've had some opportunities for some big contracts on the cargo and cruise world, so they grabbed that opportunity. But they're really going gangbusters. At some point in time, you want something hard and fast. That's maybe not the most efficient way. Maybe not the, maybe some mistakes start to happen. Maybe there's some loss of money along the way, or whatever. Maybe not appropriately spent money. So my perspective at the high end, take your foot off the gas a little bit. Maybe just look at some issues a little bit more. Make sure they're studied. Make sure we're going in the right direction. We're spending the money the right way. On the other end, I say the different lower level, small businesses. There's a whole lot of small businesses up there. A lot of people involved in a lot of work up there. In the big picture of the port budget, they may be there may be a few percentages when you compare to what cruise brings in. But those are all the people that live here, and those people need to be attended to the same way that they are at the cruise executive level side of it. So I would bring an attention and a commitment to small businesses at the port, that will have a person on the commission who is engaged, listening, and ready to stay, to make sure that they're getting treated simply, fairly, with respect, and with some common sense. So low end, high end, and I think there's some work to be done here.
Well, that's a pretty good situation to be in. I think you recognize some of the things that are going to be facing the Port Commission that may not be directly in its sights right now, but taking a much more measured approach to how it operates maybe in the near future or near term. And I just want to mention Mr. Walsh, fine man. I know he's doing an incredible job. We had the pleasure of running into him and Mr. DeBay from the Port Commission out there, doing great things in D.C., and they were excited that they were getting on an airplane to come back here and share some more good news.
Right.
So we know good things are happening there. When the folks go to vote, and again, folks, early voting, Glenn's going to tell you about this in a minute. Early voting started today. If you didn't get your absentee ballot, you can go start voting today. That's right, Saturday. The election is on the 26th. Is this, I mean, for all intents and purposes, is the election going to be on the 26th? You're going to know whether you got the position or not?
Yes, for all intents and purposes. There is a write-in candidate who will be on the ballot past the primary, but it'll just be the winner of this primary and a write-in person. For all intents and purposes, the winner of this primary is the person who will be the next commissioner.
Okay, so we're talking with Wayne Justice. He is a retired Admiral of the U.S. Coast Guard, running for Port Commission. What seat number is it again?
District 3.
District 3. You've been out there beating the street, shaking hands, meeting people, knocking on doors. What's been the general response? They like to see a maritime guy take that position?
2 points. Yes, my maritime expertise is a great fit, and particularly because they don't have that on the commission right now, and so that's welcome. But also some younger blood, some new eyes on some problems, somebody with some competency and some energy and some. I'll say I'm not coming in with any. I've been here 3 years. I don't have a whole lot of I say the word baggage that I'm bringing to this job, but I am bringing a commitment to the people who voted me in to make sure that I do the job with commitment, with energy, with excitement, and to get a job done right.
Glenn, you were going to share where folks can go out today, right now, and cast their vote for Mr. Wayne Justice for Port Commission.
Yeah, let me remind you that the election day, the primary election day, is August 26th, and the polls will be open from 7 to 7. If you're early voting, there's a limited amount of polls that are open, so let me share those with you. And they're open on weekdays from 8 to 6 and weekends from 8 to 4. So yes, they're open on the weekends, and that's from today through August 23rd. And the places are, early voting locations are in Titusville Elections Office,
This is why we told you to grab a pen and paper.
Kiwanis Island Park, which is in Merritt Island, Vieira Regional Community Center. If you're not completely sure what that is, when you're headed out to the county government center out there, the last light you have to take a left at, right on that corner, is the Vieira Community Center.
So if they try and go cast their vote at the county elections office, they're going to be redirected there.
That's right. But
Okay.
you can call the county elections office and they'll share this with you also if you didn't have a pen and paper like we asked you to. And another place is the Space Coast Association of Realtors, the Max K. Rhodes Park, Palm Bay Elections Office, Melbourne Public Library, and the Melbourne Beach Community Center. Again, those are the early voting sites that you can go and vote now through the 23rd. And the primary again is on August 26th from 7 to 7.
And again, we're talking with Wayne Justice. He's eminently qualified to take position in the Port Commission. Encourage you to look into his record and his stump speeches, and hopefully you've gotten a chance to meet him. What's your website for your campaign right now?
Justice, F-O-R, for port.com.
JusticeForPort.com. And you're also a leader in the Military Officer Association of America. Throw in a plug there. Tell them about that.
Thank you very much. MOAA is 1,400 plus strong in this county alone, chapter of the national MOAA group. And as retired officers and active duty officers, we represent all phases of the military, whether it be veterans, whether it be active duty, whether it be Sea Cadets and ROTC. We are a philanthropic group that, and as you know, Garen, we work with you guys hand in glove. For example, just a couple weeks ago at the Coast Guard birthday.
Had a blast, didn't we?
We sure did. That was a great day, and supporting the troops, and then we had a bunch of them out there. So it's if you're a retired officer in this county, it's a great organization to join. Thanks.
Excellent. Again, folks, encourage you to check it out. What's your website one more time for your campaign?
JusticeForPort.com. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us today. It's a beautiful Saturday. Get out there and vote, folks. American Warrior Radio is not over yet. We're just getting started. So please go refill your beverage, and we'll meet you back on the other side of this break on American Warrior Radio right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL. Be back in a flash, folks.